with opportunity management, that would be an example of a strategy coaching tool, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So do we really understand the drivers? Do we know who the key people and the influencers are and what their agendas are? And how do we create value for these people and for the company as a whole within what we're proposing? And these types of tools, of course, they've been around for a long time as well. We've got so many different types of sheets that people have used, whether it's blue sheets or pain sheets or what types of sheets. They have a different degree of success in different sales teams. Do you have any thoughts about why sales methodologies get adopted and used and get results versus when they're blown through an organization and 6 months later people are wondering whether there was any value exchanged?
Yeah. If you look at very effective sales organizations, they tend to do half as many things twice as well. So they don't switch and change their methodology. It doesn't so much matter which methodology you use. What matters is that you actually use it. Once you get into a flavor of the month where salespeople think this too shall pass, they're never going to put the effort in that's needed to change the way they do things. So it doesn't so matter which methodology you adopt, as long as when you adopt a methodology, you consistently implement it. And one of the main functions of sales managers is to consistently reinforce and implement whatever the company's methodology is.
So for many of the sales training companies and consulting firms who've been putting these types of methodologies in place, of course, the sales force is the largest audience. So a lot of focus is given there. The sales management team is not as large an audience, and so there's not that much attention there. And many sales managers will try to excuse themselves from the training because they're above that or they've been there and done that. So would the advice be that more focus should be on training the managers how to inspect and how to coach and how to drive adoption and application rather than on necessarily training the salespeople again and again on the different methodologies?
Well, in my time, I suppose I've sorted out 40 to 50 sales organizations where my job has been to try to get a significant improvement in sales performance. I've been able to do that in sales organizations where salespeople have been just so-so. I've never been able to do it successfully where managers have been just so-so. Implementing anything, making anything happen, rests on sales managers. They're the pivotal job for bringing about change. So I've got to the point where if I'm asked to look at a sales organization, I'm much less interested in talking to salespeople, in talking to sales managers. Because sales managers are the ones who make change happen. That's the fundamental role of a sales manager.
They do indeed. What about for the sales manager whose team is dispersed across a wide geography? They're not face-to-face with their members. People can easily switch off the WebEx or the conference call. How do they make sure that they can inspect what's going on out there and keep a sense of connection to their remote staff?
I think on the strategy coaching level, it's fairly easy. Because you catch people before key calls and you force them to go through with you their plan and what they're intending to do, and you help them improve it and refine it. That's the easy bit. The hard bit is how do you coach people in skill. But that means you have to go out and spend some time with your people. And you don't do that by spending your time evenly with everyone. If you've got a remote geography, it's just very difficult. You can spend your life traveling with very, very little time to actually do the coaching. As a manager, what you've got to do is coach a few people in much more depth. That may mean that, for example, it's much, much more cost effective to spend 3 days working with a salesperson than to spread that 3 days over 6 months when most of the time then gets spent in travel. So what you need to do is bite the bullet. Realize you can't coach everyone in skill. Choose your people carefully. Coach intensively.
Neil, we're seeing a lot of people talk about how the millennial generation is a different breed of worker. What are your observations on how the command and control methods of sales management may need to be adjusted for this new generation? And in fact, many of the people who've been doing the job for a long time who don't want to be led.
Yeah. Well, I think command and control has seen its day many years ago. We live in an era where you lead very much by providing value to those that you lead. And that's true of your most experienced people or your new generation people. But one thing I would say is you don't have to totally adapt your style to new generation people, because they're not just out there selling to new generation customers. It's good to have a frank discussion with them about what kind of person they're selling to. And they're mostly selling to people older than themselves, and if they want to succeed, they have to do a lot of adaptation too. The important thing, though, is you don't tell them, you change because I want you to change. These are people who are, what's in it for me? So you have to say, what's in it for you is that if you can sell more effectively to customers older than yourself, if you understand how decisions are historically made in organizations, if you're not impatient and pushy for immediate results my way now, you're going to be much more successful in terms of the income you bring in.
So understanding how they think and being able to appeal to that becomes a key thing for managers now.
Yeah, because we really have to adapt ourselves much more to individuals than we ever have before. So you're partly a psychologist when you're a sales manager, looking at your people, working out what motivates them, what matters, how can I be most valuable to them, as well as how can they be most valuable to me.